Welcome to another episode of the Be Wise Podcast. I am your host, Chris Y. Wright. Today we're going to talk about Trump's policies on immigration, his rhetoric, his language, his dialogue about immigration more than anything else. But then we're going to listen to also past presidential candidates and past presidents' comments and dialogues about immigration, and they sound very similar, oddly. They call Trump's immigration rhetoric cruel, racist, inhumane, bigoted. They have all types of words for it, but mainly they just call it wrong. But when they were talking about it as candidates and as even presidents, they sounded just like them, you know? So we're going to look into that. But first I want to get into something else. This wasn't planned. This was something that happened. So remember my last episode, go back and watch it if you didn't, is about Black hostility, Black on Black hostility, and how Blacks must walk in lockstep. You have to support Black things, but more than anything, you need to be a Democrat. You need to be liberal. You need to be progressive. And if you're not, you violated the Black code. That was my full show. But today, what happened was I happened to be scrolling through other people's podcasts, and Marcellus Wiley, podcaster, was watching the Joe Budden's podcast, which features Mark Lamont Hill. And Mark Lamont Hill is very angry at his friend, Stephen A. Smith, for criticizing Gavin Newsom, who was in Davos, basically talking about Donald Trump in a negative way to the European media in front of European leaders. And I sided with Stephen A. Smith. I said, yeah, Gavin Newsom should not be overseas disparaging our president. You know what? Keep your dirty laundry at home. If you're a senator or governor, congressman, any type of politician, or a critic of the president in the United States, go for it. Talk about the president all you want. But when you're in Europe or you're in Asia or Russia and you're overseas, they support your president. I've seen Rand Paul say nice things about Donald Trump overseas and then say very disparaging things about Donald Trump here in the United States. He kept his comments, his negative comments to himself about Donald Trump when he was overseas talking to foreign leaders and foreign media. And I can respect that. I can respect that. So let's look at that real quick, and we will get into the immigration, but I did want to let you hear first what Stephen A. Smith said about, or to Gavin Newsom.
Let me be very, very clear. I have no problem with Gavin Newsom being candid and open about his feelings about our president on United States soil. To go over to another country, Switzerland, to go over there and to be in the presence of other European leaders speaking against the president of the United States. I'm not down with that. Y'all might be, I'm not down with that at all. Say whatever you want here as a governor from the opposite side of the aisle of a state in the United States on American soil, fine. But I'm one of those people, when we go somewhere else, it's America first. You know, our problems, yeah, are our problems. But we ain't taking dirty laundry outside.
And I tend to agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that. But here's the problem. For Black people, or people who practice the Black idolatry or Black hostility, you can't say anything or criticize Black people, because you're going to get guys like Mark Lamont Hill, who's extremely intelligent. Sometimes I question the word intelligent, because sometimes intelligent people say really unintelligent things. But, so let me call him an intellect. He's intellectual, but not always intelligent. So I'm watching the Marcellus Wiley podcast, and he happened to be going over the the Mark Lamont Hill comments. So this is going to seem like a few layers of podcast to talk about one thing. But let's take a look at what Mark Lamont Hill said.
Really struggling with Stephen A. Smith. Okay. He gave a commentary yesterday about Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who's out in Davos right now, criticizing Donald Trump apparently. And Stephen A. goes on this rant of like, I don't care who you are, you don't criticize our president, it's America first. And he's really becoming this right-wing person.
So first, let me say, what's wrong with Stephen A. Smith, who says he's an independent, who says that he agrees with some things on the right, he agrees with some things on the left. But what's wrong, even if he was right-wing? Mark Lamont Hill just made it seem like it was sinful for him to be right-wing. He's really becoming this right-wing person. Another thing Mark Lamont Hill did not say is that Stephen A. Smith was saying, Gavin, say all you want to say, just don't say it in foreign soil.
To me.
And not fair to Stephen A. He said all of that, but he also said, when you're not in America, when you're over there, you don't go leave the house. Basically, all of our fighting like a family, we keep it in here, right? You and your wife having this little spat, please don't go tell Deborah. Because I'm going to see Deborah in 2 weeks at game night. I don't want her eye rolling me. Like, keep family business. So right here already, we out of context. Come on, Mark, I hope you clean it up. Do not just act like he was like, don't be talking about President Trump. Gavin Newsom talk about President Trump every single day in California and Sacramento. But when you're over there in Davos, can you chill a little bit? That's all Stephen A. was saying.
Saying a lot of shit to make a lot of people happy and to make a whole lot of people unhappy.
So that's another line or narrative, is that when you're Black and you're conservative or you're right wing, when you say things that don't, it's off code, it's off message for Black people, then you are saying it just to make white people comfortable. Like I'm going out of my way to make white people comfortable. That's the insult. That's the criticism of Black conservatives.
Point being, that's my man. You know what I mean? He's looked out for me before. It's an industry relationship, and I always have gone at him, but it's beyond the industry relationship. You know what I mean? I've gone out of my way to not criticize him, to not do that thing that we're talking about.
What does industry relationship mean? I know people say, I have work friends, I have work associates, but they're not real friends. Does the other person know that? Does that friend know that? Because if I thought someone was a real friend, and then they get on a podcast, a national podcast, and go, we're friends. Well, we're industry friends. I'd be like, oh, so you've eaten at my house, you've met my wife, you've met my children, we've played basketball together, we've done this, we've done that. I've told you some of my most intimate secrets. But now you're saying I've been reduced to a work friend or an industry friend? Work friends are people who never visit your house. Work friends are people who won't help you out in a time of need. They just be like, yo, man, good luck with that. Yo, I'll be praying for you. Those are not real close friends. They're not going to give you anything to help you with your problems. As you're going to hear later, Stephen A. Smith actually helped him with personal problems. You know what I mean? So then, here's some more.
As like if it's something you totally are against because you're strong in your beliefs and stuff, if he's doing something way on the other side, can you even look at the friendship still the same way?
That's a great point. My general rule.
So here's a guy sitting on the panel who said, well, if he thinks differently than you, or he's right wing, and we know that you're a progressive and you're down for the black people and Black cause, can you really call him a friend? You don't have any friends that think differently from you? This is the problem. You could be a friend with someone for 20, 30 years. And the moment that they find out that you vote differently or think differently, can you really consider them a friend? I hope so. I hope so.
Ooh, because
That was not a great point. That was horrible. And I love this show. This is like my favorite podcast. That's horrible. Hey man, he keeps saying stuff like that, man. You first of all, you gonna judge your friendship off of what he's doing at work? You don't know if he believed that he don't know if he believed the Cowboys are good or not. He's just doing it for work. Oh, well, you don't know if he really, this politics, is he just trying to make noise? If he your friend, won't you call him? Hey, dog, I keep hearing you say stuff, and I don't really like it. Now, I would never do that. First of all, I don't like the phone. But second of all, I'm not calling you about what you're saying at work. Because I'm smart enough to know that you are different. I connect to you on different things. And I don't connect to you in an absolute way.
I'll give you an example. I do this podcast here. I like doing TikTok content. I don't share the same type of content on Facebook, not because I'm scared. It's just I have a different group of people, associates, friends, and family on Facebook who I know are rarely on TikTok, and they're definitely not going to take the time to watch me on YouTube. Now, if they find me and they go, oh, I saw your YouTube channel, fine. But if they say, and because of that, I can no longer be friends with you, I'm going to say, peace, sayonara. Adios. But I don't put that content on Facebook is because I got clients on there, customers on there, friends who think differently from me. I don't want to get in debates and arguments back and forth. The thing about TikTok and YouTube, it's really kind of a one-way platform. TikTok, you could have 1 million followers and you know 20 of them. But on Facebook, you tend to know more people that can see you out in the street. All right, so that's a different platform. But my point is that if I'm doing this as my hobby, as my work, as my way to express some of my opinions and views, are you no longer going to associate with me because this is what I'm doing in my hobby time, my private time, my work time? That's just silly.
Even my best friend, I'm not 100% with him. No, I don't agree with 100% of the things he says. Are you kidding me? And vice versa. Ain't no real friendship in the world. We agree about everything. You don't agree about everything with your identical twin.
You don't agree with everything with your wife, your significant other, your spouse, your brother, your sister. If two people agree on everything, then I question them. I'm a little concerned that one of them is disingenuous. They're not loyal.
Your identical twin and you don't even look exactly alike. Now you want another person that you just met like 8 years ago who you see twice a year and talk to 4 times a year to agree? Damn, what's the core of y'all friendship? I hope it ain't Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump.
it doesn't happen that often that people go that far away if we're friends, is I just don't say anything. I just pretend they don't exist. But it gets on platforms like this is harder because like shit comes up in the news. Yeah.
How well did
I pretend they don't exist? Man, Mark Lamont Hill, you are a great friend. You are an amazing friend. And I hope Stephen A. Smith sees this because he's going to know the level of your friendship now. Where he probably didn't know it before, he will know it now and go, oh, okay, so maybe I need to reevaluate our friendship.
Did you think you knew him before that? Because I hear what you said. Because I think right now people have convinced him that he's really a politician, and he's really about to be a politician. I think he's just doubling down on where he'll think he'll be most successful in politics.
That's crazy.
But also on top of that, I don't think nobody really like. You may say he's your friend, but how well did you know Stephen A. Smith?
as like if it's something you totally are.
Sorry about that. Trying to get back to the point I was. Here we go.
Knew him before that, because I hear what you said. Because I think right now people have convinced him that he's really a politician, and he's really about to be a politician. I think he's just doubling down on where he'll think he'll be most successful in politics.
That's crazy.
But also on top of that, I don't think nobody really like. You may say he's your friend, but how well did you know Stephen A. Smith?
Man, so here's a guy on the panel trying to convince him that Stephen A. is not really your friend. You might think he's your friend, but you don't really know him because he's trying to dupe us into believing he knows politics or that he wants to be a politician. Like he's speaking for Stephen A. Smith and he's breathing negativity into Mark Lamont Hill saying, you're one of us. You're like us. Stephen A's not like us, so he's not really your friend. You hear the evil in that? It was coded in a way that people can't accuse him of saying something he didn't say, but he's really saying, Stephen's not like us. He did the whole Kendrick Lamar thing. That's nefarious, man. That's nefarious. Anyway, you get the point. I don't need to belabor that anymore. So let's talk about immigration. We already know what's going on with immigration. So since Donald Trump has been the president of the United States, he's been very candid about his views on immigration, his views on the border, his views on the wall, and he has not hidden from it. So let's go back to early Donald Trump so we can listen to what he had to say.
Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that?
Did he eat men's words? Nope. It's so funny. People say he's a liar. He says exactly what he means, unlike some others. But so we understand the policy. So let's go back as far as Hillary Clinton and her diatribes and how they've changed over the years, because she's flip-flopped a few times. And then when she realized she flip-flopped, then she tried to flip-flop on the flip-flop.
We do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration.
We've got to do several things, and I am, adamantly against illegal immigrants. Certainly, we've got to do more at our borders, and people have to stop employing illegal immigrants.
What we need to do simultaneously, secure our borders with technology, personnel, physical barriers if necessary in some places, and we need to have tougher employer sanctions.
Then, if you're that passionate about it, let them get driver's licenses.
Well, we disagree on this. I do not think that it is either appropriate to give a driver's license to someone who is here undocumented. But we have to send a clear message. Just because your child gets across the border, that doesn't mean the child gets to stay. So we don't want to send a message that is contrary to our laws or will encourage more children to make that dangerous journey.
You recently said, instead of building walls, we need to tear down barriers. However, last November in New Hampshire, you openly said that as senator, you voted numerous times to build the wall with Mexico. What's the difference between what you did, voting to build the wall, and what Donald Trump wants to do now?
Well, look, I voted numerous times when I was a senator to spend money to build a barrier to try to prevent illegal immigrants from coming in. In my first 100 days, I will introduce legislation for comprehensive immigration.
Will you say anything to get elected?
Well, actually, I have been very consistent over the course of my entire life.
I am adamantly against illegal immigrants.
I voted numerous times to build a barrier.
They're basically just being given a chance to do whatever they want.
People have to stop employing illegal immigrants.
What's the difference between your idea and Donald Trump's idea on building a wall with Mexico?
Well,
he said, Anderson Cooper said, you'll say anything to get elected. And listen, I kind of agree. I wasn't a supporter of Trump won during the election. I became a Trump supporter in the middle of his presidency, towards the end, like year 3. And I was like, wow. My eyes were open, the scales were pulled from my eyes, and I was just like, this might be the right man for the job. And then ever since then, I became Trump supporter. But I go back and listen to these people's comments on immigration, things I hadn't really paid attention to before because I was so entrenched in their bullshit. Excuse my French. That's the only word I could think of at this time, that I believed what Hillary was saying. So Hillary wanted a fence. She called it a barrier. She was using all types of words that didn't match with build a wall. Trump just came out and said, I want to build the wall. I want to build the greatest wall, the strongest, highest wall to keep him out. And whereas, excuse me, that was my phone. Whereas Hillary was like fence and barrier and ID people. Should they get driver's license? Should they get benefits? She just went back and forth. What did Biden have to say?
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
The reason the cities ignore the federal law is the fact that there is no funding at the federal level to provide for the kind of enforcement at the federal level you need. Pick up the New York Times today. There's a city not far across the river from my state that imposed similar sanctions. And what they found out is, as a consequence of that, their city went in the dumps, in the dumpster. Stores started closing. Everything started to happen. And they changed the policy. Part of the problem is you have to have a federal government that can enforce laws. This administration has been fundamentally derelict in not funding any of the requirements that are needed even to enforce the existing law.
So, Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Okay.
No. So now we have law enforcement in the street. We have Tom Homan, border czar. We have ICE in the street being attacked and protested against. And the cities like Mayor Fry or Frey, however you say it, Minneapolis mayor, pushing back, telling ICE, get the fuck out, right? And you have Waltz pushing back against Donald Trump. And the president is just trying to follow the law. He created laws. He wants to support those laws, and sometimes it takes a little aggression. And Biden said, no, I would not allow states to violate the law. But here we are, sanctuary cities, mayors and governors pushing back. It's just insane. And of course, my brother, Obama.
If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half century.
Well, there he said it. And he was the deporter-in-chief. Great numbers, by the way, Barack. Great numbers. So when I tell progressives this, when I tell liberals about Obama's numbers and how he was winning in immigration, they go, yeah, he was, but he's not doing it with the cruelty that Donald Trump's doing it with. He gave Tom Homan, border czar, a medal for his achievements in immigration, with immigration. So, and I apologize that my phone keeps going off because I'm working while I'm working. Anywho, yeah, I just wanted to point those situations out because what's going on in Minneapolis it's an outright catastrophe, not on the part of Donald Trump and ICE, but on the part of the protests, the Democrats, Governor Walz, Mayor Frey, all of them. They're hypocrites. They're hypocrites, and they just want to stain Donald Trump's presidency. You know, now Walz finally said, I'm willing to sit down or have a conversation with the president after 2 deaths, after 2 shootings of Minneapolis citizens. And I put that blood on his hands, because if you had used your police force, both local and state, for crowd control, then ICE wouldn't have to do crowd control. ICE is not there to control your protesters, your mobs, your crazy people. They're there to arrest and detain. And you knew they were coming, Governor Walz. You knew they were coming, Mayor Frey, and you refused to let your officers help support the efforts. So now we have 2 deaths, agitators, antagonists that are dead, unfortunately. And I'm not happy about it, but it's also hard to be empathetic or sympathetic, because they shouldn't have been out there, or they should have been controlled by your state, by your city. Now we're forced to temper down the rhetoric, get your protesters under control, which I don't think you can do, because Minneapolis is the wild, wild west right now. And you're going to lose votes, you're going to lose support, you're going to lose constituents, because you're out here trying to assist Donald Trump in his efforts. All right. That's all I got, guys. I try and keep these below 30 minutes. It's very difficult because I have so much to say. But listen, you guys be good. I'll talk to you on the other side. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.